Are we on?
Good.
Are we good? All right. We're good? All right. So real estate investment development, guys, I'm really excited to bring to you a pastor that I've known for a while. Before he was a pastor, when he was a rapper, which I'm sure he's both. But here on the channel, we're talking real estate investing and development. Today it's going to be about God, family, and money. So I got Tony here. I've known him for about 9 years at least, since my kids were born. And Tony, I want to tell me a little bit about you, bro.
Well, love you, my bro.
Thank you,
Thanks for having me on. My name is Tony Tabera. I'm actually born and raised in Modesto, California, and been in business, finance for the better part of 15 years.
Sales, I
sales, real estate,
sales.
did life insurance, did various things. So I've been in that world, marketing, advertising, and then also been in ministry for 27 years this year.
Long?
Yeah, and about 7 years ago, my wife and I planted a church, 424 Church, here in Fresno, based on John 4:24, and we started with 6 people in our living room, and now today we're right about 250 people or so.
It's awesome,
So
man.
it's been awesome. Well, it's God. I mean, I wouldn't want 250 people just playing around. I'd want it to be real, and so it's been a blessing because we see a real work happening. But yeah, man, I'm just glad to be on the podcast with you, bro. We have known each other for actually almost 11 years.
11 now?
Yeah,
Like
almost 11 years.
2 years before?
Yeah, you're
Thank you for reminding me.
yeah, it's been that long. So excited to talk about the various things today.
So every time we run into each other, which I believe is God, we've ran into each other at the most craziest times, and we just and we have a little history as far as we've done a little bit of business together, which and then I kind of saw, I didn't know exactly what happened, but I saw you and the old pastor were buddies, and then you separated, and so I've seen all that, man, and I know that there's another person that was with you guys. I said a different church now, but I know that everybody's going through different things, and at the end of the day, we're all trying to get better, and I hope most of us are trying to get better and go in the right direction that's meant to be for us. But everybody's got their own opinion on things.
Yes.
And every time you and I run into each other, bro, you're always there's not too many people that can challenge my views. So I appreciate that. And that's why I wanted you on here, because I wanted to just talk about things. Every time we talk, I wish I was recording this, So I'm like, let's do it. Let's start, schedule some time. So appreciate you being here, man.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I kind of want to jump into it. Before the camera was rolling, we were having some good talks, and we'll just start off there. Like you were saying, as far as what was our last?
Well, I was talking about my family. Well, you brought up the concept of God and gambling, because there was somebody that you had met that's a pastor that was also gambling, and how does that fit? And when I hear you ask that question, I think that number one, money and God. Just before you go to gambling, just God and money, because Jesus actually says that you cannot serve both God and money. Like, you will either love one or hate the other, or you'll despise one and be devoted to the other. So what he was saying is, when it comes to God and money, or if you want to kind of make it a little more clear, what does money get you? It gets you the things of this life, right? We work so hard to obtain currency so we can buy houses, buy food, buy clothing, and live in this world. And so Jesus is basically creating a contrast, and he's saying your entire existence cannot be dependent on both. Either you're going to realize that all the resources that come to you come from God, and he's the one that actually provides all that for you, or you're going to say, no, he doesn't do that. All of it comes from my hard work, and then you're going to put your dependency in that. And so what first we have to realize is, the heart of us as people we're depending on something. And so it's not about gambling. It's really about what we're depending on. It's about what we put our hope in and what we look to take care of us. And so if we look at money, forget God for a second, we just look at money. Outside of money, what else do you really have that's going to take care of you in this life? Outside of money. Forget God for a second, but just outside of money. Well, it's money.
Being resourceful.
Yeah, being resourceful,
you don't
right.
need money, you could trade.
Well, but that's the point. So if it wasn't dollars, it would be a book for shoes, or right. It'd be some type of
let me come take care of your vegetables.
Farm.
Exactly. You don't have land, so
right. So money represents all that. It represents, like, I want grain, you want meat, right? And we're going to try to exists
To
with
me,
that.
money's a tool, but when people think that it's going to fix all their problems, like I did when I was young, if I have $1 million, but then what got me there got me to go to the next step, which, if you keep doing the same thing over and over, you get the same thing. So
Are you ready for something crazy?
Yeah.
We do the same thing over and over, and we do keep getting the same thing. Think about it. There's nothing new under the sun, right?
For me, it comes down to being resourceful. Money doesn't really matter. It's a tool.
Right.
But if you have relationships, money doesn't matter. But people fall in love with money because they think it's going to make them feel better, and they hold on tight. And that's why, even in the Bible, it says that, the parable of the 3 people, and God gives them
the
all
talents.
coin. So the one that held tight, like most people, 95% of people out there that have equity in their homes hold tight, want to pay things off. And if you're not willing to, he wants you to be the lender. So he wants you to become the bank. So you got all these banks that people are giving their hard-earned money to, and even pastors are borrowing money and paying them less than what inflation's going down. Instead of being wise because of fear, so they don't do the right thing out of fear. And there's others like myself that do max things out, leverage, learning, and a mistake happens, something happens, and it comes down to being resourceful and having faith to wake up the next day and find a way. So for me, it's not even about money anymore. It's about becoming the best version of me, because God created us in his image. So therefore I'm a God. I create my outer, whatever I'm in right now is because I created it. So if you're living a shitty life, it's because you created it. Take full responsibility. I take everything I've been through, is the bad stuff too, is all my fault. Mm-hmm. So by taking full responsibility of that, it allows me to go and fix it, or make it better, or just own it and sit in it and not have to do drugs and alcohol to wipe away the pain of all. People don't. I saw this movie the other day. This guy's on a landmine. His buddy got blown up, and he's on a landmine, and he had to stay there for 2 days. And he was stuck with no food in the desert. And this kind of made me feel better, because I'm always going through stuff, and because if you're not going through things, you're not growing. So he's standing there, and he ends up for 2 days like hallucinating, but he's having to live his fatherhood, his father beating him and all these things,
like reliving.
So, but he was forced to sit there and just
deal with it.
And most people, I bring that up because people don't do that, and they always look for so money can be, I have money, I buy stuff, I feel good, cool, but then that goes away. So once you figure this out, it's not about money, it's not about stuff. It really is about God, because God gives us the breath, and he's the one that is going to end that day. But if you're not giving 100%, this is my opinion. So if you're not giving 100%, and if you're not I never made a lot of mistakes until the last 4 years of my life, and I was proud of that. But now I realize if I'm not making mistakes, I'm not growing. So the mistakes I made, the $1 million mistakes, because I didn't give up, which, believe me, I felt that urge. I never understood Les Brown when he says, about the urge, every winner's felt it, the urge to quit. I never really felt that, man. But the last 4 years, I felt it quite a few times, because I've had more pressure, more things, and more challenges. But every time I wake up and move forward, no matter how I'm feeling, didn't get drunk, didn't do any of that. Kids taken from me for 8 months. All these things happen. The devil attacked me, bro. 6 people suing me at the same time, and everything that just was going wrong. And I knew it was the devil, and I knew that I'm going to get better for this, and God always wins as long as I don't quit. So I learned how to enjoy pain, and most people don't, so they look for
and I think that even as you're sharing your heart, bro, like there's a lot that's being said inside of what you're saying.
Tell me, what is that?
Well, I'm saying there is a lot that's being said inside of what you're saying. Now I don't want to dissect it too much. There's a lot of substance there, and there's a lot of also coping. There's a lot of reasoning. There's a lot of we go through things in life and we kind of tie things together. And so there's truth, there's actually what's truth, what can be built on that's solid. And then there's how we're figuring it out along the way. And we all do that on some level, especially when we're seeking after God and we're trying to figure out what's my purpose in this life while being able to live for God. I mean, that's most people's struggle. But even going back to what we were talking about, so when we look at the core view of money, you gave a good example of, okay, some people will look at it like it's all about money. It's not really that. What Jesus was actually talking about was the heart of people, meaning the thing that we have in common. Let's say you're really resourceful and I'm not. We have the same thing in common. We still need to eat, protein, fats, and carbs. We still get cold, so we need something to cover us, and we still get warm, so we need to take something off. Like at the end of the day, regardless of how resourceful we are, our nature depends on those things.
You're resourceful.
Well, even if somebody gives it to us, like it still depends. It's still, that's why welfare system works so well for people who don't really want to work, but they kind of lend to because their heart and their soul still is after those comforts, even though they're not resourceful. But they're exactly the same as the rich man who's paying the taxes to help pay for them to do that. Yeah. Meaning everybody's hearts and condition is the same. The conditions are the same. So when Jesus says you can't serve God and money, what he's saying is, do you realize who's taking care of you? Do you realize who's actually providing the air, who's providing the sunlight? And this is why it's a lot easier for people to say there is no God, because then consciously they don't have to justify anything. Consciously they don't have to deal with another person that in the picture. They can deal with themselves and then the environment. So when you think about money, it's not so much money and it's not so much what it can buy you as much as it is what you depend on. And so it's impossible to say I depend on God, but I'm stressed out, freaking out, making bad decisions, cutting corners because I don't have money. It's impossible to say that. It's like this. If I'm going to trust God, then I'm actually going to trust he's going to provide. I'm not going to try to take things into my own hands and try to go in my own strength. And that's what he's talking about. But without God, without trusting God, guess what I'm left to? I'm going to be the best me. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to do that. And there's nothing wrong with it. In the sense of like what you're saying, it's just the reality. It's the reality. Yeah, it's the reality. Yeah, because in the end, guess what?
You're gonna have peace while you're doing your best. If it works or works out.
Yeah, exactly. So that's
so what? Don't let that's the hardest thing.
Well, you said the word peace, right? I would say contentment.
Contentment. Okay.
So I would say if you don't have contentment, meaning I don't have really control.
People say I'm content and they're not welfare.
Right, but that's what I'm saying is
doesn't mean
no. I was saying on the side of your efforts. Yeah. If I'm gonna go do something, I'm gonna build a $1 billion company, right? And I'm gonna say I'm going after this big vision that I have. Yeah. Before I step foot in that, I need contentment if it fails.
Yeah.
Right, and that can't be my contentment. My contentment can't be well. I'll just try something else. Because at some point I'm gonna be 70 years old, and there's a lot. No, there's a lot of people. There's more people actually that fail and never create that than people who actually succeed in that. Because they quit, but because it's not because they quit. Because it's actually impossible. It's impossible for everyone to be millionaires and billionaires and everyone to be successful. It's impossible.
Correct, but here's the thing: the reason it's impossible is because the 80-20 rule. If they said that I forget who it was, but if you take all the money and evenly exchange it throughout the population, the same people will end up with it. And that's
what I understand.
Yeah, but that's because.
But if everybody was those 20 people, what I'm saying is, everybody was the 20%. It's impossible.
But God made it that way. So God made. That's why animals made for life. 25% humans, 25% happily ever after. So numbers don't lie.
But where does God come in? Where does God come in?
God created it that way.
So the person who's succeeding 100% knows that, and they'll call it luck. They'll call it they're putting more opportunity out there so they get more chances to win, right? They can call it whatever they want to call it. But at the end of the day, it really is God who goes, I'm going to allow that to happen. I'm going to allow this to happen. That's going to work. It's really, there is a factor there where there's a punishment happened on one side. There's a punishment happened on one side. There's a blessing happening on another. There's a favor happening on one side, even if they're evil people. There's a work of God happening.
Even let's say the drug dealers that are out there that are trying to clean their money. Okay, let's just use. And they got $1 million.
They try to clean their money by tithing to the church.
Yeah.
No, bro, just kidding.
For real. Hey, but it helped. So look, I was thinking about this morning. For some, don't even ask me why. But so you got $1 million. They're trying to clean it, but here's the thing. Everything helps everything is what it is. Unfortunately, so if they invested, let's say they give $1 million to somebody and they put it in real estate. Let's just hypothetically say, and that real estate grows and they get their money and everything works out. But the person that they invested to was able to survive rates going up 4%. So they were able to make it work and not lose everybody's money they had. And I'm saying this because there's a reason, but so is it bad or is it good if you take dirty money and make it clean? Because at the end of the day, you got pharmaceutical. There's always
the truth is
way to justify.
Yeah, all
everything ends up working out for
all money is dirty. meaning it passes through our hands and it's passing through somebody's hands, and it's
Tax 50%, like, I mean,
but that's why we can't try to look at God.
But if you're doing what's good, if you're doing, let me ask you, if you're
Well,
doing
let me
good
finish
with
what I
it,
was
is
gonna
it
say.
good?
Let me finish
If
what I
you're
was gonna say.
doing good with it, is it
We can't look at God through our view. We have to be able to lay our view down and try to see from God's view. We have to try to do that, because if we're talking from our view, what we do is we create hypotheticals. We create hypothetical scenarios, right? And we start using a hypothetical scenario to then position our view or our argument or our what we're trying to say. And instead of what truth does, truth goes, we're getting rid of all hypotheticals and we're going to go down to the bare bones of what we need.
So what is that? Okay, so
Right.
but that's everybody's opinion of what everybody
Well,
needs.
I mean, it's like naturally speaking, like we need water. Everybody needs water. You agree with it?
Correct.
No matter who you are, what skin color, whatever, you need water.
Yes.
Okay, though that's what truth is. Truth is this
The
bare bones like necessities, and what it is most people don't know what that is. Most people are struggling with, well, what is truth? Because we say it's subjective, but truthfully it's not. It's actually there, but we're the ones that are actually struggling. So we talk about God, family, money, right? If I talk about God, I have a man's view, and then there's God's view. So he's a living being. He has a view. He has his way. He has his heart. He has his character. We have our view. And so we can come to God and say, here's what I think about you. But at some point, we're going to have to go, okay, this is what God thinks about himself. That's the struggle.
But do you think that just letting go, so you could try your best.
But like family, right? My dad was a drug dealer. My mom was addicted to drugs. My family was in and out of prison, gangbangers, right? That was my quote unquote reality. That was but it doesn't mean that's truth. So the truth would be, okay, there are people in need just like everywhere else. That's truth. Everyone's in need, no matter how you look at it. We all need,
unless you're in peace.
We all need,
you're in peace, you're not.
Well, the basics are, we all need food. We all need clothing. We all need basics,
shelter, water,
right?
food.
Then when you get into like what is right and wrong, okay, that's all. There's a couple.
Opinions?
Well, there's a couple playing fields there. So like you can go to an indigenous tribe and being topless is completely okay. But if you walk down the streets,
beach.
there you go. Yeah. But certain cultures is like, hey, being nude's fine. Other cultures is like, what are you doing? Cover up, right? So it's not, it's not that that's necessarily the baseline for actual truth though. So truth would be, where's your lust lie? Not so much what people are saying are right or wrong culturally. Because if I'm actually a servant, which is right. So talking about money is a horrible master. It's an amazing servant.
Great. Yes.
Right. So it's a horrible master though, because when money masters
you call it servant tool. Yeah.
Yes, but it's a horrible master.
But when you work towards it with the feeling of, once I get it, I'll be good then. And then you get it and you realize it didn't change anything.
Well,
because you should have enjoyed the journey.
Well, because you're pursuing it for the wrong reasons, right? But when it's a servant, when you're like, okay, let me glorify God with it, let me help somebody with it, let me try to make wise decisions with it, let me actually show my family that it doesn't rule me, let me actually live in a way that I'm actually able to let it go. I'm generous, right? That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's a servant. So when you think of servanthood and you think from a servant's mentality, like I'm here to serve now, and it's not all about me. It's not about me getting what I want. It's not about me having the life that I dream of. It's not really so much about that. It's about me wanting to help someone that's in need. That's what I'm talking about. When you talk about the needs of people, that's where God comes into play. All the other stuff like that we do, whether it's entertainment, music, investments, all that stuff, there's all kinds of opinions on that stuff. But where the truth comes in is where does your lust lie? Because lust isn't just sexual, right? Lust isn't just perversion like that. Lust is, what are you ambitious about? What are you pursuing? And so there's a scripture that actually says that the spirit lusts against the flesh and the flesh against the spirit, meaning they lust against each other. All that means is they have different desires that are completely contrary. So I have my human nature, going back to money, where I do feel, if I'm being honest with you, like in my human nature, I feel more comfortable with $1 million in the bank. It's a little more comfortable knowing that I have something to work with than when I was completely broke, saying I have to pound the pavement to try to build something up. Are you hearing what I'm saying?
Yeah, let me put a word on that. So I thought I would feel that too, and I had, at the age of 38, I had over $1 million in equity, $300,000 in the bank. But I couldn't. You said comfortable with having $1 million in the bank. I couldn't sit still because I wasn't comfortable. I think most people think they'd be comfortable.
But if you're resourceful,
that's the thing though. Without money, you can be resourceful. So you could be better off without any money than you are with responsibilities.
And I agree. And I agree with you. No, I agree with you.
Then you have the pressure, and you don't know what you're going to do.
I agree with you. I think a lot of times, people think that money is going to be the answer, but it's not. It's really not. And relationships are
sometimes get it and lose it, because 90% of people get the first million and lose it.
Well, most people who lose money lack relationships. And deep, meaningful relationships. Because when you have deep, meaningful relationships,
I never technically lost it because of that reason. Because I went back to serve people, bro. I had to start serving people. In the hardest of times, when 2% of agents were selling 10 or 20 homes, I started over after 2 years and sold over 10. And it was like thousands of folks. But I was serving people, bro. So many. And I saw all the fear of people. And that was probably the biggest.
Well, but that's another thing that touches bases through, family, through handling money, through God. You're talking about the basis of truth. Everyone has fear, right? Everyone is scared of something. At some point in their life, they experience fear. They experience doubt.
You don't fear anymore if you go through enough trials and tribulations.
You probably
have faith.
You probably won't fear the same thing that you've overcome as easy or as quick. But I do know this. That again, instead of going into the weeds of it all, the reality of it is majority of people, if not all people, encounter fear, doubt, unbelief in their life, about their character, about who they are, why are they here, all of that stuff. And most of those people that you find that are successful in life, at least, when we say successful, meaning monetarily, because outside of that, you have God, right? You could be very successful in God and not have all the money.
Correct.
You could be extremely impactful serving God and literally give all your money away all the time. Because I've seen it, and I know what that's like.
And that would be more so where their value is coming from is relationships. I mean, because if they're giving money away, they're building relationships.
Yes.
So if they ever needed food,
there's a community of people, whether it be from investors or just a community of middle class people.
Integrity, your character, and you've relied on other people to.
And they've relied on you, and there's that relationship.
Doesn't mean they're always going to repay you, but it definitely.
No, but in God, you have something that different than just like an investment. You guys have contracts. You have exactly what your yield's going to be, your spread, all that stuff, and you come into an agreement over details, right? With God, it's different. When you live for God, you come into agreement over sacrifice. You come into agreement over laying your life down. It's a totally different community than just what do we get out of it. It's actually what are we giving into it. And it's funny because in the world's mind, right, talking of views, in my worldly mindset without God, in my human mindset, I go, oh, there's something in it for everybody. So if I give you clothes, I get clothes. But where God comes in, it's like, no, it actually doesn't work that way. The way God works is the blessing is in your generosity. It's actually in the fact that you're not expecting anything in return. There really is no string attached. And when you find a community like that, which seems too good to be true, seems impossible, seems like there's something that's attached to it, but there's not. When you really find a community like that that's really serving that way, it's a contentment that you can't get by just business transactions.
So everybody's just giving of their heart and not expecting anything.
As a family should be. As a family should be. I'm a grandpa. I'm 43. I got my second grandchild already. Yes. So my oldest son has had two. He's 22. He'll be 23 this year.
He had two kids?
He had two kids.
Little guy. That's great. Last time I saw him.
Nate. So he just had our granddaughter who's,
Congratulations.
Thank you. And, I'm sitting here 7 years ago.
Grandpa.
So 7 years ago, we started this church, right? I had a successful insurance business and a real estate business. Those are things that I was growing, was doing really well, multiple six figures. My wife had a cosmetology business that was multiple six figures, and we were doing really well. We were going to grow it. We had a plan. We knew where we were going. And so God calls us to the church, and he calls us to sell everything and to start this church, right? So the first thing that I'm thinking about, right, talking resourcefully, talking, legacy and all these things, immediately my reaction to this call is, okay, I come from nothing. I come from government cheese. I have nothing. I always said my whole life I wasn't going to be like my family. I'm going to do the opposite. I wasn't raised in church. So when I encountered God, it was literally a miracle, right?
How old were you?
My first encounter, I was 12. And then I had another encounter at 17 and then never looked back after that. So when those happened, which we could have another podcast and get into those, but when those happened, I made it my point. I was like, I will not be homeless. I will not be on government assistance. I'm going to build a business. I'm going to be successful. I'm going to be somebody. Well, I did it. I from where I was to where I was at to where I was going, my trajectory was all there, right? And then I got called to start a church. And
you got called. How'd you get called?
Well, just when you have a relationship with God, you learn His voice. You learn His voice. You learn His presence. You can't run from His Spirit. Heck no. Especially to be a pastor, bro. Because what I knew for 18 years at that time was pastors were crooked, or they had selfish motives, or they were doing it as a business. It wasn't really a genuine work. And I had traveled and done a lot of stuff, and I've met some really genuine people. And even when you brought up the last pastor, like genuine brother, he loves God. He's doing what he really believes is convicted to do. I wouldn't speak bad about that at all. He was my first youth pastor years and years ago. We just had different visions. So,
was it your vision or God's vision?
Which vision?
You said you had different visions.
Yeah, we had different visions in what we felt God was calling us to do, what direction to go into. So, as far as how they run the church, how they go about community versus how God was calling us to do it, they were different. So they wouldn't really work well together. So we had to go our separate ways, which is fine. Sometimes that happens. But when the call came and there was the presence of God, the conviction of God, plus, you have people around you that confirm it and other things, it's a whole other topic. But my mindset was, well, then I'm going to make more money so then I can give to the church and we can be resourceful. Like, I'm going to make sure the church is debt free. I'm going to make sure all these things, right? And no, through prayer, God said, I don't want you divided. I want you devoted. And He didn't want my mind and my heart driven by business and driven by transactions and being that way, because I had been that way for so long. He wanted me in the scriptures. He wanted me serving people and giving up my life. And I got rid of one business, got rid of the other two. My wife and I went full time, and never looked back.
Too.
Yeah, we're both full time. Yep, and never looked back. And for the first 2 years, we literally drained everything we had. Now think about this. I want to leave a legacy for my kids, right? I want them to have, like, these were all reasons why I wanted to succeed. And yet God was coming and saying, I want you to sacrifice that. I want you to trust that I will take care of your sons. I will take care of your grandchildren. I'm actually going to do this. If you will obey me and do what I've called you to do, I'm going to take care of these other things. And that's scary, bro.
Yeah.
That's
how do you trust something that, especially when you're losing, I know it's so hard when you're losing it. So you're putting all your money into this.
Yeah.
And so what happened? Tell me a little bit.
Well, we started with 6 people out of our living room. It was me, my wife, my 2 kids, and my in-laws. That was it.
From the church, you didn't bring people? I just figured people came with you.
Nope. Nobody ever came from that.
Really?
Yep. I sat for a year and a half, as a matter of fact, and never did anything. And then when the call to start the church happened, we started with nobody. It was just us. And we didn't even really put it out there like that at all. So what ended up happening is when we finally started the church, we spent like a month in our house and like 2 people came, right? So we went from like 6 to 8. And then we went out, and one of them was already with us, but they were like official. And then the other one, they both ended up leaving. So it ended up being 6 of us again. And then we went to a rented space. When we went to the rented space, I put a post out and said, hey, we started a church. This is where we're meeting. It's, Saturday nights and for 2 hours. And 15 people showed up. And these people, some just were following me online for years. Others I actually, because I traveled and did Christian rap for 20 years. And so I did like events in Carruthers, events in different places, Cutler. And a couple people who I went to these events actually came and ended up coming to the church. And they've been there ever since. They hadn't left. So there was some seeds planted, and then they came. But it was, you got to understand,
same thing,
bro.
Yeah,
if you start a business.
I gotta jump in on that part. So I bought 7 homes. Let me go into this. So I bought 7 homes in Missouri in a week, and ended up, I had a bridge loan for 12 months, and then was told it could go another 12 months. Rates went up. They wouldn't extend it. And I had properties here, investors, and like everybody around me told me to file bankruptcy. There's nothing you could do, like, because I stopped working for 2.5 years to fight the ex. And then I had to make a choice, and I just told God that. I woke up and I told God that every day I would give everything I had, and I'll just do my best, and you'll provide the rest. So I did that, and for 2.5 years I've been I've been making it out. Like I'm talking about, like I was negative 30 grand a month. Smoke claims, but then the reason I bring that up because I had clients that I was working with for 4 or 5 years that should have bought. I tried to help them, and they wouldn't listen to me. But then when I went back and made all my phone calls, the people that should have bought 5 years ago bought. It was like just to pay that bill. Like, and it was like, damn, did he know? Like, so it's like I'm trying to control everything. Yeah, he already had it. So I don't. It's really
there's
hard
a big
for me to
there's a
have an analytical mind. So like,
so do I.
So
bro,
so if he
analytical.
So if he planned everything and he knows the hairs on our head and all that shit, how does it? So, but if we make a decision, like how does all that work? But somehow, if you don't give
all right,
up and you
let me
moving forward, the dot will get connected.
Yeah, let me give a 40,000 foot view, right? Because we're kind of talking at like almost ground level, maybe a couple thousand feet. When we're talking like that, saying here's where we are in this race and we're all making these decisions and we're talking about resources and all that, that's like 1,000 foot. That's 2,000 foot view. It's not really a high view. When you go to a higher view, you're talking like, what is all this for? And then we come back down to the no.
I don't know if I'm asking that.
No. I'm saying let's go to a higher view. It's all for God. So the highest view in everybody, and I mean this, in everybody's life, there's a Christian somewhere. In everybody's life, there is a believer somewhere. In everybody's life, somewhere, it's attached somewhere. And for those rare occasions where there's, again, I brought up an indigenous tribe where there's people who haven't been reached yet. Those are rare occasions. That's an anomaly. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking for the majority of the world. There are believers everywhere. You're a believer, right? In your space, in your right. So what I'm saying is, from the highest view, everything is for God. So what I mean is, God is working where no one is paying attention to bring people to Him. Yes, He's doing that no matter what. No matter what, and no one's going to tell.
People can take their mind. This is what I've learned. If you take your mind off the pain and learn the lessons from it and move forward, because if you grow, if I grow, we all get better. So that's where.
But what I'm saying is, regardless of our efforts, that's why it's happening. Is you have a real God who loves people, and He wants to be seen in the world, and He's working regardless of if we see or not.
So how do you answer all the questions? If there's a God, why does this person die?
Right. So let me come down to now like a 10,000 foot view. So 10,000 foot view would be like religion, right? So you have people who go, okay, am I Baptist? Am I Pentecostal? Am I Muslim?
They create the most wars, don't they? Like different
religions is just crazy, right? But then you have religion, and this is where confusion happens. Right? If it was just God and then us and nothing in between that, we actually wouldn't have all the problems that we have. A big part of the reason why we have all the problems is because we got all this stuff in between. Yeah. And we got all these views and beliefs and everything in between that we've created, and we're the ones that have done it. And then we're not even talking to God anymore. We're totally lost in, well, what about this? What about that? So you asked a question. What about people who are evil and they get all the good stuff? They succeed. A good person dies, right? Or innocent person gets murdered.
The devil also doesn't attack you when you're going in the wrong direction.
And he does actually.
Oh, well,
he does it all the way around.
I feel like, because I didn't get raised in the church at 24. Ended up going to a church when I started. But
some of your viewers don't even believe in the devil.
No, the devil's real. The devil's. If the devil.
What do you guys? You guys think the devil's real? Yes, he believes. Yeah, see. Yeah, see. Most people on the majority know that there's a God. There's at least good and evil. They at least know that much. But when you talk about the devil, and because they think of the red guy with the big black horns, right? That's what they think of the devil. And the Bible actually talks about how when he's finally revealed, people are going to be like, that guy? Because he's a master deceiver, weak as heck, is not the persona that has put on in front of everybody in the world. He casts a really big shadow for a small man, if you know what I'm saying. But yes, he always attacks. Let me show you how. Right? All right. So in the very beginning, if you believe in Christianity, if people have Christian biblical views, Adam and Eve sinned, they fell. When they fell, everything became corrupt, including money, including everything else. It all became corrupt because it all passed through the hands of people, and our heart, which is our mind, is now thinking evil. That's just the way it was from the fall. Meaning, the devil is always moving through the human condition.
Question before I forget about it. So, but if Eve wasn't manipulative and go towards sin, then what would I've asked this before, but I forget. And for a lot of people out there, I think they probably want to know if they didn't eat the apple, then where would we be? We'd have no thoughts of our own. We'd be like animals.
Not at all.
No, you don't think so?
Not at all.
So we still have freedom of choice.
Well, yeah, because the choices that we have. I love this question. Like right now, we're in this room, right? We're in this room. It's how many square feet is this place?
1,400 square feet. Let's go.
And this particular room is what, 800 square feet?
Yeah. Yeah.
I know. So we're 800 square feet in this room. How much freedom do you really have in this room? Right? Okay, sure. You could leave this room, but then you go to the world. And how much freedom do you really have in the world? I mean, there's government, there's laws, there's restriction all over the place. You don't really have the freedoms you think you have.
You just have consequences.
You have consequences to things, but even past that, like, okay, so you have
get away with it.
Well, but you have freedom, but it's all based on maturity, right? If knowing right and wrong, what culturally, there's a lot of layers to actually making a decision. And so a lot of times when people go, oh, well, do you still have the freedom to choose? Of course, it's called a relationship. But here's what I know. Love, the absence of love, causes a very toxic environment, meaning the decisions that are made from a person full of hatred. How can they make loving decisions if they're full of hatred? Would you agree?
100%.
How can they make sacrificial decisions or generous decisions?
So let me ask you a question. Somebody has, I'm gonna be real. Someone has 2 kids with you just to get paid $60,000 a year. How do you let me ask you a question, and you're probably going to answer it the opposite of what I did. Do you
He already knows what I'm going to say.
Do you write the check and keep rolling on with everything, or do you? So the new Tony, because I'm going to say the new Tony, because the old Tony, what I did was, I refused to give somebody. I tried to control the outcome of somebody wronging me versus letting God handle it, because I didn't truly believe.
That's okay.
God
so,
work it out.
But you know how they say like 20/20s in hindsight, 20/20 visions in hindsight. Well, you're looking back at yourself, and then you're giving yourself, you're critiquing yourself, right? You're looking back and going, "This is who I was."
Easier when you look back,
but when you're in it,
yeah,
when you were there,
find out who you are.
But when you were in it, we're talking about decisions. We're talking about decisions. Yeah. When you were in it, you were fueled by your justification.
Yeah,
you weren't fueled by wisdom.
I wasn't fueled by love.
Exactly.
Yeah,
okay. So now this goes back to what I'm saying. Adam and Eve, and forget about trying to figure out God's plan, because He is all wise. If He puts them there and puts the tree there and the environment's what it is, and He knows everything already, it doesn't matter. We don't know. He does know. We don't know. So watch. Eve eats and falls. They both fall. Now their heart is absent of the purity of the love that they had before. So it's not a matter of whether or not we have decisions. We all have decisions. But the truth is the truth is what are my decisions fueled by? Are they fueled by the unconditional love of God, or are they fueled by the selfish love of man? And so when I make decisions, business investments, because I was a gambler. That's why when you brought up the whole thing about being a pastor and gambling, I could never get with any pastor who ever said that they gamble and they're a pastor, because I was delivered from gambling. And I know how oppressive it can be. And so it's like having a drink. Taking a drink is not bad inherently. Putting a coin in a slot machine is not bad inherently. But what that thing can lead to, boy, it'll bite you. Anybody who's ever had one drink and then turned into a drunk, or no, a family, it just happens like that.
Every gambler is not chasing the win; they're chasing the loss because of what you feel from win. So,
but you want to know a cold piece? Like all of my people who are my friends who are unbelievers. I have a lot of friends who are unbelievers. They don't go to church. A lot of them. Okay. And they actually, we have a really good relationship because I don't really preach at them, but they are willing to listen. They ask questions. I don't impose anything. Like kind of like our relationship, right? But a lot of my unbelieving friends, they actually get it when you say, well, a little drink will turn into, It's the Christians who want to drink that then make it a different story. Oh no, drinking's not bad. This, that. It's like, bro, if you just listen to the world, anyone who does it will tell you, why would you do that? Because it leads somewhere.
I gotta say this. So
I don't know.
So no,
it's kind of a crazy thing, but.
No, I agree with you.
But this is why Christians get a bad rap, bro. They call us hypocrites and all this stuff, is because you have Christians not being Christians. It just is what it is.
You have them justifying what they want to do.
Yeah, and the world themselves will go, that's wrong.
I still do. So I haven't drank in over 3 years. Well, I haven't been drinking, but I've had like 3 shots, right? So I'll have a shot at a wedding or something, 1 shot, just for respect. My dad would, but it still isn't good for me, right? It isn't good for me. I know that. But you drink the best stuff. Yeah. My point is, we all try to justify it. But it really is black or white. Like if you're putting poison in your body. But let me go on different note. If we're talking about alcohol, okay, so maybe you don't drink, but do you eat sugar? Do you eat carbs? Do you eat bad shit that you're not supposed? Like there's always somebody. So,
but that's what that's one of the that goes
I'm
back
trying to be the best. So I'm trying not to eat sugar, and that's like the only thing I do is probably eat sugar. I don't.
No, dude, I totally agree with that. As far as like, I agree. What I'm saying I agree with is I agree with the dilemma, the fact that there's a dilemma there. I believe I know the answer to that, but when I think about the answer of it, I know that it's. We started this off. We were talking about perspective, right? We have to be okay with the reality that we have childlike adults. Okay, there are people who are in full functioning adults, but are immature even spiritually. Yeah. Spiritually speaking, they just are not aware of the values of God and where that applies in their life because they're absent of that view. And so everything that we're doing and how we are as people is all literally a justification. Everything.
What if life was meant like the whole? Because if we were all perfect, there'd be no.
I know what you mean.
Continuous of life.
But you're talking about improving, right?
Yeah. Because improvement is the key. So even though like.
Well, hold on. Pause. You said improvement.
That's what I said. And you say God. And
No. I'm gonna come with you on that. Yeah. I'm gonna come with you on that journey. So improvement's the key. But for what cause? So that even if I agree with you, if I go, okay, yeah, it's all about getting better, right? That's not really.
Because everybody else gets better around you.
Well, and that's not really like my motivating factor in life.
But it motivates me. But you're saying God motivates you.
No. I'm not saying that. No, I am saying that, but not like that. So like 200 plus people in the church, right? 250 people. My heart is to see these people live for God. My heart is to see them become wise with their money, become wise in their families.
I'm saying the same thing, but with different words. So when I say,
I'm
just saying my opinion. Like it took me 38 years to like talk to people about God, and now because I have to believe it. I can't. I have to know it, you know. And so many people say they believe in God, but if they really knew it every day, they would wake up without an alarm to do.
You ready for this?
Best they could.
So, and I'm talking about believers here, okay? Because I want to see people, again, steward their money well, steward their time well, steward their life well. But why? Not for stewarding's sake. See, because if we steward for steward's sake, then you don't need God.
In my opinion, because if they do that, everything around them gets better.
But
it's for God. I see. Yes. So I always leave that. I see what you're.
Well, I'm just sharing my heart in
right.
that.
No, you're right. Because look, when I got to a point where I was losing, like I've always controlled it. I've been successful. I've done, as far as like making money. So I've done all that. And then when I prayed, so before I got kicked out of my house, I prayed because my ex drove drunk with my kids, and I prayed for God to
intervene,
to fix her, to help her, right. And the next day I'm kicked out. So if I would have seen it, God was freeing me from that, bro.
Hey, anybody who's pursued God has had those moments.
I can't fix her. Like I can't fix that. God freed me, and instead of me fucking being like, thank God here, like letting it go, forgiving, and that's why I teach people through the things that I've gone through. So I think by me getting, the reason I say me getting better, it really should be, because it's not me, it was God. Like people said there was favor in my life before I even knew what that was. And I truly think there was, because when I look back, I see all these doors. But it took me losing everything to realize it wasn't me anyways. So if
Yeah.
I just give my heart to God, if I just, that's where, so for
So
me,
what, so here's what's happening, right? As you're talking, and you're my brother, so I have relationship with you. I can say this. When you're talking like that, just to give a picture of what's taking place right now, is you're sharing your heart and you're saying, here's my value system. Okay, you're saying, if I just do this for God, then what? See, because when we frame it,
what
well,
happens, well, I'm gonna answer the question.
Yeah.
No matter what happens.
Well, it was rhetorical,
Okay,
but go ahead.
Well, I was gonna answer.
You can
No
answer.
matter what-
That's
no
fine. You can answer.
Okay.
I was leading somewhere, but go ahead.
All right. So no matter what was the question?
So if I'm living for God, because you were going to say it,
Okay,
if I do all these things for God, and then what?
And then if I
Then
do,
other
so
people
if-
can do it too? Is
no,
that
no,
kind of what you're
no, it's like if I give everything to God and it works or it doesn't work, then I'm okay with that because it was the way God
the
wanted it to
contentment
be.
that I was talking about?
Yeah, it was the way God wanted it to be. But all I can't be okay with is when I'm using energy looking back and
Yeah.
not choosing the right perspective. And
Yes.
that's the hardest thing.
All
when
right,
people
say-
are going through things.
Yes.
Is to focus on where you are right now, what you have, your breath, your life, because money doesn't really matter.
At the end of the day, yeah. So 100%. I fully agree with that. Like at the end of the day, it doesn't go with you. Naked you come into the world, naked you shall return. Right there, you're not taking anything
people
with you.
give their lives when they lose money. So that
They do. They do.
Owner of Victoria's Secret sold it for $1 million, and then it became a $1 billion company. He jumped off a bridge.
Yep.
And it's like,
But what does that show us, right?
That there's love,
Where the love was at, right? So that's why I'm saying, like, if I say I'm doing this for God, so there's a lot of framework that's happening there where you say, if I'm doing this for God, then what? And a lot of people do things for God to get things. They don't really do it for God. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's like, I'm going to live for God so I can have a better life. That's the wrong, but that's the wrong reason to live for God. So watch. So my wife, right? I've known my wife for 30 years.
Michelle.
Yes. Been married now 23 years this April 28th this
You
month.
guys are best
right?
friends. I mean, you guys.
Hey, we've been through
together, yeah,
everything
yeah.
together, right? But here's the thing. If I'm with my wife so she can give me kids, that's the wrong reason to be with my wife. If I'm with my wife so I can have a better life, or if I'm with my wife so I can, if it benefits me somehow in this life, and that's why I'm with her, it's a shallow relationship.
So you're with her because
But
of God.
I'm with just.
All right,
I'm using an earthly example, but yes, but I'm using an earthly example saying, if this goes for anybody, if you're with your wife, how about a business too? If you start a business for money, you're in it for the wrong reason. Money can follow, but you're in it for the wrong reason. If I'm with my wife for sex, for children, for appearance, or anything else, I am shallow in that relationship, because here's the truth. I should be with her for her. That's what makes that light shine. That's what makes people look at a true marriage that's like full of love, that can only come from God, is when you're literally with somebody for them and not for anything that you can get from them. And every selfish person that's listening to this episode right now, including us without God, is going, that's bogus, you want something. Everybody should. They should, because it sounds impossible. So that's an earthly example, that if you met somebody and their whole existence was, I love my wife because of her, not because of what I get out of it, or I love my husband because of him, not because of what I get out of him. Watch. The test comes. Face gets blown off by somebody trying to rob a bank, or right. I'm serious. But I'm saying they lose their arm, or like I have a friend whose wife her arm got caught inside of a machine and ripped off. So now she has no right arm.
Degloving. Oh my
Bro,
God, that's horrible.
But he loves her still.
Yeah.
Not because she's now disabled. She's not able to do the same thing she was doing before with one arm, but she could do it too. Yet he loves her anyway. Why? Because it's for her, not for him. And so that comes from God.
I learned that kind of love. That's what I do with my ex. Like the better I
Let me finish my thought. Hold on, let me finish my thought,
Because
because I feel like someone's getting blessed by this right now. That's watching this. That when they watch this, they're going to get blessed. Business. If I open a business because I want to help people, that's the right reason why you want to start a business.
Why not just help people?
Well, but it's the same difference. But if the heart posture, that's what I'm saying. In everything that you do, is if the heart posture is to be a blessing to the end user, truly and genuinely. Like, I want to have kids so I can give my kids what I didn't have. Watch but I don't want to take the glory for it. See, because if I take the glory for it, I become God. This is why I go, let me give the glory to God.
Right.
And when you have that full connection,
I gotta say something.
Go ahead.
So in 2018, I was trying to grow my mind. I was making $200,000 a year, and I wrote on my wall I want to double it, 500,000. But there's a reason I'm saying this. So I wrote it down on the wall because believing something, having faith. So I wrote it down, and I ended up, I didn't know how I was gonna do it, but I ended up helping 8 agents make over 100K that year, and then I bought 8 homes. And that, for me, and in 3 months, and I had helped the people just to help them.
and then
I had opportunities. And boom, it was like I was blessed. Then I over leveraged. I turned off the marketing. I wanted to teach these people how to sell. I was just feeding them, right? So I wanted to teach them, and then everybody dissipated. And when they dissipated, what I learned, and this kind of hardened my heart, was that people.
Come on.
People, you help people, but the odds of them being there for
All right.
you when you're so. But that was the first. Real quick, that was the first battle I went through of like hardening my heart and getting.
I understand that too.
And I'm sure opening a church and like,
Sure.
So because you're doing it so that you do things for the right reason, and you get blessed, and then when someone stabs you, you harden your heart. And that.
So
and with my ex, same thing. I had to learn to love them anyways. And it is the hardest.
Bro, I know, it's impossible. It's impossible. You know for a fact, bro, if we're keeping it real right now.
It's not impossible.
No, if we're keeping it real.
No, it's not impossible. It is hard as fucking
No,
hell.
let's keep it real. Watch. Me and you are alone. Hey, me and you are alone.
Okay.
Nobody around. No cameras, nothing. We're not doing a podcast. We're by ourselves, and we're saying it's hard. You know it's impossible.
Bro, it's not
This is, no, listen.
let me think. Because I know.
No, because why else do we call out to God? Because it's
I'll tell you
bigger
what,
than bigger than us.
So my ex took my kids for 8 months. I had to go to supervised visits like I was the villain. Like I had been abused when I was young. So for that to look like I was the one, and my ex actually tried to, like she would, this person that I loved her, and I was trying to love her like God loved His church, right? Like I was trying to give her, bro. I was becoming the best version of me to live like what you're saying, and then to be portrayed just like Jesus was portrayed, bro. Like it. But I'm
so
saying,
you know
like,
what I tell people? I say, if you definitely don't want to experience betrayal, do not start a church and do not even try this, because the reality of it is
you see who people really are.
Well,
like,
and you're,
in my opinion,
but it's good.
It is,
and
good,
and it's
you
good.
Grow,
well,
in my opinion,
because I think that God is most glorified in heartache. I believe He's most glorified in
the
pain.
last 4 years. I mean, because I've been going through things, but the last 4
at least
years,
in our lives, you know what I mean? Because what happens is, like, so people come in and they say they love God, but then they leave because they don't like the worship. Watch this. Or they leave because the chairs aren't the right color. Or they leave because you're not black enough, you're not white enough, you're not, whatever the reasons are. They got 1,000 reasons why people say, "Oh, I love you," and then they don't love you. No different than
same kind
in the world.
Way
but
more turnover there. I mean, as far as
but what I'm saying is, I never got into this for people, even though I got into this to serve people.
God.
Yes.
If you glorify God, then
Yes.
then if you truly believe in God,
well, but I want to make it clear.
Like it's.
I want to make it clear.
Jaded by anybody.
This is called God, family, and money, right? We talk a little bit about money. We talk a lot about God. I don't have any family out here. My family is the church family. Those are the people that if I die, that my wife and kids are cared for because they're genuine people. So I'm not saying that I don't benefit from genuine relationships. Oh, brother, there's no relationship like a godly relationship. None. Period.
I want to go back to how.
Finishing what I'm saying. There's no relationship like a godly one. So I didn't get into it for people, meaning I didn't get into it for the praises of people. I didn't get into this so that people could accept me or love me and all of that. I got into it because God called me to it.
I didn't think I did either until they didn't appreciate it.
And then you felt that, yeah.
And then you feel it. I don't think I did it for that reason. But then when they don't appreciate it, they're making $200,000 a year. And you're going through shit. They can't be there for like they don't. They all that.
But that goes back to the contentment you were talking about, bro. If you know that whether I succeed or I don't at this, that I'm doing what God called me to do, and I'm at peace with whatever the outcome is, then you're going to get all.
You have to remind yourself that daily. Like, do you get this?
Not only do I have to remind myself, I got a wonderful family of people that help me, that remind me now.
Betrays you. stabs you. I mean, let's
It's-
say something horrible happened, like something you can't. I don't even want to say out loud, like something that
Yeah. So it's
betray. Then
so
you get tested to see
I-
if
I've
you'll
had a
still
f-
walk that same
I've had a few of those.
that forgiveness.
I had
bro,
a few of those.
forgiveness.
I had a guy leave our church recently because he got caught in something he shouldn't have. You know, he went and did something he shouldn't have done. And as a result of that, he didn't want that out public. So he went on a smearing campaign, tried to beat me to the punch, so to say. He thought I was going to smear him, and I wasn't going to. I wasn't going to.
Bro,
And
I
he
know
went on
exactly
a
what you're
smear
talking
campaign,
about.
brother. He was like, this guy's a wolf in sheep's clothing, did a Google
Yeah.
review, all kinds of
Bro,
crazy
that's what
stuff.
happened with my ex, saying,
But it's like, what do you do when that happens? You know what I do? Because see, when you're living, when
love
you
him
when-
anyways.
when
Love him
you're, when
anyways.
you're honest, bro, when you have nothing in your closet,
Yeah.
there's nothing to find. That's what I'm saying. When you're
You
honest,
put it out, like whatever.
everything's in the
I saw.
open. That's why you can walk in love. That's honestly why you can endure it. Because when something's an absolute lie, watch this. It's just a lie, and you're not doing it for people's approval. So you have the peace of God, like I'm doing this because I'm called, and that something's an absolute lie. The truth always wins out. But if I got a bunch of skeletons, I don't care if you tell a lie over here that's an absolute lie. I don't want this to come out. So that's when I start getting crazy. And I'll give you an example. In business, right? If somebody's cheating on their taxes, if somebody's doing things that they shouldn't be doing, whatever's over here, they don't even want problems because they know it could lead to this other thing. Subconsciously, consciously, whatever, there's always something there. But when you do everything straight, you do everything by the books, you do everything legit, someone can create all kinds of commotion, but you know when it comes down to it, the facts are the facts. And the truth will always win out. So it's the same thing with relationships. The truth always wins out. I never go into a relationship going, oh, I give you my whole heart and I trust you with all of my life. No, brother, I'm not dumb. People will burn you. People have ulterior motives. But I will love them unconditionally. I will give. I will be generous. I'll do all those things. And I do expect sometimes, depending on how I see the behaviors, that they're going to turn on me. I can tell that they're out for themselves, so it's just a matter of time.
You learn that through time.
Yes. But I have to go
Was
through
there a
100.
place you
I have
were
to go
naive
through
when you were
100 people,
younger?
bro.
When you were younger, were you naive? Did you have a big heart to where?
Well, yeah, because of my brokenness. I mean, my dad was never really there. You know, my family wasn't there, so I was heartbroken. So I gave my heart to everybody. I got shattered, bro. But it made me better. God did use it, and so now I still give my heart to everybody, but I don't have those same expectations. You know what I'm
give
saying?
your heart, or is it still guarded?
No, I give
is
my
there a
heart to
level-
everybody, but I give it in a deeper way with people who give it back, because we can share in it.
In a deeper, that's a good way of
Yeah.
putting it.
So like with me and my wife, my best friend, right? I give there's nothing that I withhold from her. We know everything about each other. We're completely one. I'm the deepest level of relationship is with my wife.
Can I ask you a hard question?
Yeah.
So if something happened and let's just say she left you, like what is your mindset?
If she
If
left
something
me,
like horror, because that's like
if she left me,
Yeah.
or like just left me,
Yeah.
like for another man or something.
Yeah, I'm just like I really
All right.
like.
Yeah. So this is the truth. Number one, I don't think anybody truly knows until you're there, right? I don't think they truly know.
That's what I'm
But
asking.
I'm
I
not.
just wanna-
But I'm not going to be doubtful. What I'm saying is, I don't think anybody truly knows until they're there. But I will say this: what I believe. I'm not living for her. And I shared this in a sermon not too long ago. In front of the church, I said, Michelle, I love you. And I go, I love my wife. I go, there was a time when we first got married, I said, if you ever cheat on me, I'm out. I will never stay with somebody who cheats on me, because I had saw that as a kid, right? So I was like, if you ever cheat on me, I'm out. And then I had a moment with God in prayer. He goes, this is what God told me. You cheated on me and I never left you. I said, ooh, so right. So I was like, well, I need God. I need you to help me with that one, because you know what I mean. And meaning, you've had other gods, you've worshipped yourself, you've done other things, and I never left you. I've been with you the whole time. So I went back to my
There
wife.
was a way to fix you.
I went back to my wife and I said, if you ever cheated on me, I'd stay. You'd have to leave me. And I committed myself to her, right? I committed myself to her. So I'm not dumb. Like, let's say she started sleeping around and was with men and stuff. I wouldn't sleep with her. You know, I wouldn't be intimate with her, because I'm going to protect myself and make sure that I'm not, but I'm going to love her. Yeah, I'm going to love her.
Then you would just move on.
And I would serve her, because she would need it more than anybody in my life at that point. Would it hurt? Yes. Would I be heartbroken? Absolutely. Would I cry? Absolutely. Would I have all those feelings? 100%. I'm positive that I am a human being, and I would feel everything, every emotion. Would I want to fight somebody, kill somebody? All that? I probably have all those emotions, but because my value system, my priorities are right, I really do believe I wouldn't act out on that. I really do believe that I would have the right heart to endure that.
Do you think you would get married again?
No, I actually probably wouldn't. It would have to be a miracle for me too, because I would devote my life to God.
And
Being married has a lot of. No, I'd be celibate. I'd go celibate and live for God and serve God. That's my genuine heart. I've had these talks and prayers, but if God called me to another relationship, is the only way I would really feel comfortable doing that, because being in a relationship is a lot of work. You are divided between pleasing God and your spouse. I just so happen to be blessed right now with a spouse where we both understand that and we're walking in unity like that. And that's rare to find, where like she's not a stumbling block to me and I'm not a stumbling block to her as we're serving God. Not over each other. Like, oh, you're in ministry too much and you're gone all the time. We're both full-fledged, like we're in agreement about it.
I got a question for you.
Yes.
Something I'm going through right now.
Yes.
I want to lay it out here because I want your opinion. And I don't know if there's anybody else.
Going in a minute.
What was that?
I gotta leave in a minute.
All right.
Sorry,
How many minutes we got?
Yeah.
5?
Yeah, about 5
Okay.
minutes.
So here's my question. You kind of know a little bit about what I've gone through. So I have about, let's call it 8 properties, and I have investors, and behind on 3 properties. I've been trying to raise money, trying to do it, sell homes, everything, right? So there may be a way to get the money. So my man, I'm about to ask you that. So, but my question is, so for 2.5 years, I've been basically working for free to get this thing just raising, just growing, selling, whatever I do. So I'm at a point now where I need a miracle, and I've needed a miracle like a month and a half ago, right? So I guess my question is, what my plan was to walk it out every single day until they start, because I got basically like April 24th.
Okay.
But I'm already behind. But if an opportunity came into my life where I could make it right and do the right things with it, but there was, I'm looking at, in this hand, I basically, if I don't get the money, it just things start falling, domino effect.
Right.
In this hand, there's a chance, and I feel like if God allows it, then it'll allow it. There's a chance for it to work, but it just may not be.
So what's your question?
Which one do you do?
All right.
But I'm trying to ask it without. So if I get, by taking out a loan, so I've taken out high interest loans, but by taking out this loan, let's just say,
is the risk?
I'd be betting my life on.
Yeah, the risk is there. Yeah.
So, but everything I do, I bet my life on. Like that's the only way I live. Like I'm all in. So
well, let me ask you this:
if I could do good with it versus.
Let me ask you this. One thing that I've learned, I'm about to give you a spiritual principle. This principle is spiritual. It's not necessarily natural. Meaning, looking at it, you may not understand it naturally. Okay. Relationships get brought in and out of our lives by God. When it comes to God, for a reason. And one of the biggest reasons is so that we could have understanding, spiritually speaking, meaning in relationship with God.
Well, this opportunity was brought by a pastor.
I'm
just saying.
Just walk with me.
Okay.
I don't want nothing from you. Like our whole relationship, right? I've never asked you for nothing, never borrowed nothing from you. I've never wanted. One time
you asked about a business thing, but other than that, no.
We were talking about real estate at that time.
Yeah. I'm honest, but that was the only one time I don't remember what we did. What did we do together? We did something.
We did marketing. That's what we did.
Advertising.
Remember. That's all we ever did.
Oh, that's what it was. And then after that,
but we were going to do the real estate combo, which was just creative real estate. It's nothing that's far fetched from people who understand real estate. But what I'm saying is, I've never come to you. We've never had that kind of relationship, right?
We honestly,
it's always been a God relationship, right? So when you ask me that and you say that I need a miracle, here's my true. You said it from the very beginning, like you're somebody who challenges me, and I respect that, right? So I'm going to challenge you.
And it's hard for me to find people to ask because no one's been through a warrior, someone that's got big kahunas. And, sorry, bro, but I don't know.
Hey,
personally, I don't know, but I just mean.
It's just God.
but you're willing to put yourself out there,
I am.
and you're trying to do the right thing. Bro.
Yep.
That's what I see.
Yeah,
That's what I see from Pastor Anthony. That's what I see from you.
Yep.
And it's really hard to see men walk in a hard direction, because it's easy to be bad, bro. Like
that's true.
It's easy when things are starting to get tough. If you start going the bad way, things get easier.
Living for God
in my
is
opinion,
but impossible. That's why I try to tell people.
If the devil doesn't come after you when you're going in the right direction that he wants you to, in my opinion, when you're going in the good direction,
he's so slimy. He attacks you all the time. And
but
even
you're doing it to yourself. I'm saying, so if you're doing drugs every night and alcohol, you're gonna fuck up on your own. That's what I mean. But if you're going to church, writing your first $1,000 tithe check, and then a girl comes in your life,
those contrasts, yeah.
Because that was the one thing that from when I was 24 to write that first tithe check, bro. Because that was my God, that was what I believed in. Because I couldn't believe in anybody or anything, because everybody's let me down. So money to me was my God.
Yeah.
Even though I thought I was in control, it really was, because that's the one thing I could count on, bro.
That's the first time I've ever heard you say that.
It was. It
has to feel good to get that off your chest.
It was.
So what I was going to say is, you said I need a miracle, and here's where I would challenge that.
It's one thing I can see. No, it's real. But
yes.
until you go through, and you know that there's a bigger purpose.
But I would challenge you in this. You need a miracle. I would say, what is the miracle, and who is saying you need it? Just pause, bro.
What is a miracle? Who's saying I'm needed?
Well, because numbers. No. Because there's our view, and then there's God's view.
Well,
just let me answer. Let me answer. No, I'm not. It's rhetorical. I'm setting up. It's that thing again where I'm setting. All right. So, what is the miracle, and who's saying you need it? And this is where I challenge it, because the miracle that comes from God could be that you lose everything again.
It's not even about me losing. No. Let me tell you, it's about the people that are entrusted.
I know, but my question is
the heart. No,
my question is, if God's
I've never let anybody down, in my opinion.
But if God's plan,
my word is everything.
If God's plan is
the hardest part. It's not even mine.
But if God's plan is to take it off, are you content?
Yes.
Are you content with just having God in your life?
I want to be. Yes, I'm working on it. Yes, I am.
And I think
100%, bro.
I think the miracle is that. And if you have that, guess what has to happen?
I know I'm gonna get up and figure it out.
But if you have that,
and enjoy the whole process,
right.
Like I've learned so much, bro.
But if you have God, and that at the end of the day, you have that, right? You have a relationship with God, and that's the most valuable thing you have. And you're saying, I want to, and yes, and the miracle would be then everything get taken away. Watch this. Every belief must be tested to be proven genuine.
The last 4 years has been like nothing but test, even before that. But the last 4 years. And I
think somebody needed to hear that right now. Even you got viewers that are going to come in, right? I think somebody needed to hear that. If there's somebody still in this particular episode up to this point, it's because they're listening for a reason. At the end of the day, if whatever you're doing has to be stripped from you so that your faith can be proven genuine, because if I say, oh yeah, I'm content with God, and if everything were taken from me, if everything were taken from
my
me,
kids, bro, I've already put that's the hard money. But the kids, I've already.
Yep.
I love them, but they give them to me, bro. They're everything. But like, if I don't want, you have to be.
Bro, when you asked me about my wife earlier, I'm telling you, I realized it could happen. Anything can happen, right? I don't think she has that kind of character to do that. But I'm saying if she ever did, I mean, I would have to be tested somehow, right? But I really do believe that. I believe that if you have a true faith and you really believe God is all in all, you're going to be stripped of everything until you can believe that.
Let me finish with this last thought. So at 24...
Didn't mean to go too deep, bro. Sorry.
Last thing. No, it's good. It's great. That's why we're here. So when I was tested right before I got married, didn't sell a house for 8 months, broke, bro. I was crying in my car. My ex brought me lunch. I was overwhelmed, bro. And I'll never forget, because my lender called me, and he called me once or twice a year. But this was part of my testimony, is that I was F you, God, because, you're not there, whatever. Like, I was just mad, bro. And that was the last time I've ever got mad at him, because that was the last time, because my phone rang.
He's like, I'm not going to do it again.
I was like, hey, how's it going, man? And he had a client. He hardly called me once a year with a client. So it was just at that one moment, I'm like cussing at God, my phone rings. I've had other things like this happen too. But and then boom, and then I end up getting to the next step. So it's like I know ever since then, I've had multiple harder times
So can I
that I
ask you a
could have
question?
been mad at God, but I haven't, bro.
Can I actually ask
So
you
that
a
is
question?
my testimony, is that like, the way, no matter what happens, I'm always going to believe in
Yeah,
God.
no,
I'm
I
always
believe
gonna-
that too.
Because I've already, and I've seen, and I've had enough miracles to
To solidify that.
solidify it. And
Well, let
even
me
if
ask
I
you-
did it, when I lose everything, if I lose everything, I'm going to get up and I'm going to praise God. And I'm going to be grateful, and I'm going to keep moving forward. Go
You
ahead.
said, no matter what, I'm going to keep going.
Yeah. That,
And my question is, you know, do you want a life without God?
that's death.
So the answer is no, right? You don't.
No.
And in everything that you're striving for,
I'm not striving. I'm trying to.
I know, I
attract,
know
but I
that.
just words are powerful.
whatever.
So everything that I'm
working
working
towards.
I love you, bro. All right.
Hey, everything you're working towards, at the end of the day, we can't take it with us, right?
Correct.
So
But
then,
it's not the money again. It's
Yeah.
the people. And you know what's the hardest part? The people are driving me nuts. They don't give a shit about me, and I'm drowning and they're throwing on weights, right? So, but I still love them, bro. And that is, bro, because I didn't have anybody that I could ever, I thought I did, but look up to, respect, and that's what I want to give people. So
Yeah.
for me, letting people, that's the only thing that matters. And but the hardest part is when they're attacked, they're trying to bring you down. So let them have, like, go ahead. I'm trying.
I know what you mean.
So
Just make sure the cause is always bigger than,
me.
yeah, just
Is that
bigger
what
than,
you're
bigger than, bigger
It's
than,
not, it is about
Yeah.
that's what I'm trying. That's what's so frustrating, bro. So hard. You see the weakness of people when they're going. These investors have extra money and they're crying about the money, and I
well,
get
that's
it.
kind of what makes them shrewd, right? Is that they're, you know what I mean? That's why they're there. It's because they're meticulous about where their money goes. I know a billionaire, a friend of mine who's a billionaire, multi-billionaire, and it could be $5,000, and they're
See, but is that the love of money though?
no, well,
See that?
no. This person, I know this person,
I'm just saying, like, if
But-
you really care, because I don't.
but they're not a believer, so you know
Oh.
what I mean.
All
But
right.
they're a good friend of mine, and
They're still broke, in my opinion.
well,
That is my opinion.
they're just shrewd. Shrewd's not a bad word, but they're just really wise with the, and they, all the way down to the dollar. That's what made them their multiple billions of dollars. Is they live very meticulous like
in
that.
my opinion,
I mean,
that
I think
person-
that's slavery,
enslavement,
but
bro. 100%. You
but
could
it's
have
st-
$1 million or
Bo,
$2 million in
I
the
couldn't
bank.
believe it.
I agree.
I couldn't believe it. When I saw it, and I
It's
was like,
it
you got
still
all,
owns you.
I was like, you got all
Like,
this
it
money.
still- no, that's
But
what
it's
you're
like-
giving. If you could give it all
No,
away.
but they do. What I'm saying is they have a full-on multiple businesses, 50-something businesses, right? And they have this enterprise, and they have all these businesses, all this money that comes in, but they really are like everything. And that's what made them that good. They're totally debt-free, totally don't owe anything, invest their money, give their money. They do all this stuff, very successful, but they literally are meticulous.
So do you think it's better to pay things off or to leverage? What would you say? I'm
I
honestly.
think
what's
there's
your opinion?
levels to that.
Levels.
I
That's
think-
good.
I think-
That's
I
a
think there's
very
levels.
good answer.
It's true. There's levels to that.
It's a good answer. I really wanted your opinion because I respect it. Thank
Yeah.
you, brother. I appreciate you being on, man. I can't wait
It was
until
dope.
next time.
Yeah.
We're gonna do this again.
Cool.
We're just getting started.
Yeah.
Let's
Dope.
go. Thank you, guys.
And this guy